Hello everybody, it's VerticalSandwich. Welcome to the video that I'm recording in post-commentary where we actually get Warlord 3. So the way we get it is not the way I planned. The way you plan to get something like this is you put only the Skeleton King items in your deck. Like, you make sure the sword is the only weapon. You make sure that the shield is the only shield. You make sure that the helmet is the only helmet. Fill your deck up with other stuff. And then for encounters, you put in the trading post to get a random helmet or shield.
In order to experience afresh all that has happened.
And you put in Mr. Lionel, you sell your original shield as quickly as possible. Because if you get Mr. Lionel and you've sold your original shield and you ask him what he needs, he'll say, what I need is to help you, and give you a shield. And then you use Twisted Canyon as your encounter to get a weapon. He has to give you the sword. This worked for me like 4 or 5 times before I actually got this run. And there will be live commentary once we approach the card, because you'll see I can tell it's coming. Like, I reveal all the cards. But the way I just described to you is not the way I get any of these items. So, since we're doing post-commentary for this, and I know exactly where I'm at with the game right now, I've unlocked all encounters and all items. But I'm not going to get all the trophies for this game, because the trophies for this game are a nightmare. Like, they're all based on, like, the game doesn't save trophy progress. So, you have to do things like reflect 100 projectiles without ever stopping playing the game. And that's, you know, that's a lot to ask. So yeah, so I don't think I'm going to get all of the trophies for the game.
Caves and caverns.
I think what we're going to do to finish up the game is play one last session of Endless and take it seriously. Like, really try to survive as long as we can. And then we'll see how that works. Okay, so we get a food gain card from the shop randomly, and that gives us an item draw, and the helmet's one of them, so that's how we got the helmet. And then this is really disappointing, because what I should have done was gone back and gone to the shop and bought food, because the card after this is going to be trading posts, or a trading post, and I could have gotten the helmet or the shield. But I did not. And normally this would have been like, I would have reset the game. At this point, I really would have. Oh, random shield was because I already have the helmet, right? So, goblins is always the opposite of fun. I get so sick of goblins. I've realized playing through the game and doing these grinds is that I've made my deck very boring. You know, when you first start the game, you can't really, keep from hitting random encounters. And really, struggling to survive and things, but my deck doesn't do that anymore. My deck has, like, one random encounter in it. Like, one. I mean, that's, it's alright for what we're doing. Just trying to unlock cards, but, I mean, for playing the game, it doesn't offer a lot of, fun or challenge.
A voyage across the ocean.
There's some other trophies for this game that are very bizarre. Like in one play session, fight every kind of monster. So fight a minotaur, fight a lich.
Live a life that provides enough meat for our deck. Yet you also need to have enough will to walk.
And that stuff's really hard. I don't know that can you actually get. Is there a card that guarantees you a lich that isn't Descent into the Underworld? Because I honestly don't know.
You cannot eat gold, you know.
Alright, time to fight some mages. Fighting mages is easy. You hit them in the face with your shield, and then you chop them to death. It's actually kind of fun. Yeah, there's some other things, like shield bashing enemies into traps. Like, is a thing you have to do a bunch of times to get a trophy. And it's stuff you would never do. Like, why would you ever do that? Just make it a point to bash an enemy into a trap. I mean, if they're there, sure, but why would you, you know, try to lure enemies over and punch them in the face? It's kind of weird. So the way we end up getting these last two items is by repeatedly going into a shop. And what you'll notice if you repeatedly go into a shop is that it switches out like 2 items every time for what you can buy. Like, so it'll give you 4, it'll give you item A, B, C, and D. And then you go back in and it's like item C and D have become A and B. And then there's new items for C and D. And then you go back in and C and D have become A and B. There's new items for C and D. That's kind of the way it goes. I mean, it's not exact. But I did pay attention because we spend a lot of time going in and out of shops in this video. Like 10 minutes, probably. So this was an unlikely run. I had like 5 runs where I got all of the Skeleton King items, which is a thing that you get a trophy for, and couldn't find Warlord 3. There's a similar trophy for wearing the 2 mage items, which is probably pretty easy to do.
A horse.
And there's one for wearing all the dragon items, and there's like 6 dragon items. It's ridiculous.
You do not seem to have the temperament for friends, even in the animal kingdom.
So, like, everything we did worked out really well in this. Like, getting that loan really helped us out a lot because we're going to be running back and forth in shops, and, like, gold payback will be a big thing because we're going to need to buy these items. And I successfully hid from the giant eagle, which is really cool. Alright, Captain Bacanera is now an encounter that will just give you food or gold if you ask him. The local peasant, I believe, will give you gloves if you give her 5 food and you have gloves in your deck. But we don't, so she'll just give us a mace. So we know, I knew the card was there. And I knew that I had no other options, so I just gonna go in Traveling Tinker over and over and over. And that's just what we do. That's all we can do. But as long as we don't touch Warlord 3, we're fine. So I figured we'd just do this forever. Like, I was recording and I was like, well, big deal. Either I'll run out of food, or this will work. I just had to make sure that these things were changing. Sometimes it seems to me like I've seen some things in here that aren't in my deck, and so sometimes that just happens. And I don't know why, but one of them is like Herney's Antlers or whatever. I've seen that helmet in shops or in item selections when it's not in my deck. So there's the shield. So now we have the shield and the helmet, and all we need is the sword. Now there is going to be at least one fight. So here's our gold payback. And it was funny because I remember I was thinking, like, man, I'm not even going to be able to... I'm going to have to sell so much stuff to buy this dumb sword. Like, if I find it. And then that happened, and I was like, oh, never mind, I'm good. Because I think the Skeleton King sword cost 55, I think. It might depend on the shop. It might depend on, you know, who knows? Who knows what it depends on? I don't know how this game works. I mean, I generally know how it kind of does what it, you know, like what it does, but like I don't know why. Like I don't know what part of the programming makes it do those things. Which, by the way, some things in this game, like that first-person view of that table with the hammers and stuff, are really cool. Like it's one of the few things that actually tries to set you into the first-person perspective of the game. I mean, the guy talking to you obviously is meant to do that, but if you look at this actually like looks like stuff's going on right in front of you, right? It's kind of neat. You just pick up that sword and run, man. There's like a sword back there. I think at one point, if you're watching this and you see me buy something random, I think at one point I might have, just to try to mess kind of with the game's programming as far as what's going to show up in the shop. Because I was like, oh, what'll happen if I just buy this so you can't show it to me anymore? Because that is one of the things you can take, you know, that you can take advantage of with the programming here, is that the game cannot possibly give you the same item twice. So there are no duplicate items. You can't ever, you know, we own the Skeleton King shield. We can never find another Skeleton King shield. If we, you know, this game cannot offer us a random shield suggestion. So like, you know, and if we go to the trading post right now, it won't offer shield as an option, because the only shield we could get is the shield we already have. And you know that's kind of duh, but, you know, a huge amount of what we're doing here, like, has to do with that. Has to do with the fact that the game doesn't need to have choices. I guess I shouldn't say, yeah, the game doesn't need to have choices. There was one thing that I was trying to figure out, like, I was thinking about what the game would do if you... Oh, it was if you put Twisted Canyon in, and you had no weapons, or if we got the Skeleton King sword as our opening weapon. You know, it's the only weapon in our deck, and then found the Twisted Canyon thing. But it would either be that you wouldn't be allowed to go get the weapon at all, so it would just say some alternate dialogue. It would either just say some alternate dialogue and not let you, you know, do the thing you were gonna do, or it would pull a default weapon, you know, give you a rusty axe, give you a fine blade, or just a sword. I mean, I don't know. Those are the options, I would guess. I mean, because the game designers must have considered things like that. Because Trading Post changes its options based on what's in your deck. So clearly it was something that was on their mind. So we're not doing the greatest, but we are gonna get it. Like I said, you know, this is the time where we get it. And then like I said, we'll be switching into live commentary, so you can hear me, you know, read the dialogue in time with the game and stuff. But you can see how long this can take. I mean, this may have been easier earlier in the game, but you can't logically do it before you get to the last tier of things. So you could do it with a 32 card deck, I think. And I got the Guildmaster's ring because it was supposed to give me one more food as I walked in to shops. Every time you go into a shop, you get a food. But that must just be every time you go into a shop, maybe for the first time. Because I didn't get, I was thinking, oh, I'm moving back and forth. I'm eating 2 food every time. If every time I go into the shop I get 1 food, it'll only cost, go through half the food. I can do this twice as long. That's not the way it works out. Which is weird because it's 1 food, right? It perpetually, you always have to move away from the shop and move back. So you always have to get to a shop, you always have to spend at least 2 food. So it's not like you can make an infinite food well by using that ring. I mean, if it gave you 3 food every time you entered a shop, then you could just walk away, go back, and gain a food. So we still don't have it, but my counter says that we're getting close. And this is easily the most boring thing you've ever watched me do in this game, without a doubt. Although later, when I'm wearing dragon armor and trying to kill enemies by just running around them in circles, that's kind of funny. It doesn't work. I mean, it kills a bunch of them, but it doesn't kill all. I mean, they get me eventually. Because you're still running right around them, I mean. So I'm betting from my audio sequence that this is the last time we go into the shop. Because I mean, I can see that the pattern changes. So there it is. It is 55. So when we come back, we're going to see me take out the Warlord 3 card. And, yeah. And then we'll be on to the next thing. I'll see you guys for that. Hello everybody, it's VerticalSandwich. In our last video, we collected all 3 Skeleton King items, and now we have Warlord 2 as our next card. So it's time to do this in live commentary. Oh, sorry, Warlord 3.
We play for a token now.
You return to the barren land to commune even once more with the ancient god. You place the 3 items from the Skeleton King on the ground before you and summon the nameless entity. There is a blinding flash of light. When your vision clears, you see that a ring has appeared beside the Skeleton King's sword. It is bone. Use it as you will. You take the ring to have it examined later. Your continued persistence, even in the face of certain death, intrigues me, mortal. Perhaps this next task will yet turn you from your goal. There is a child lost and alone in the darkness, a darkness filled with beasts that would consume him. Save this child and return to me. Suddenly it withdraws to its own realm, leaving you breathless and alone. This card's token is now yours. Finally! Now mine! This took 3 days. It took 3 days to do this. So, we got a trophy called Lord of War. But, one of the things, okay, so the best strategy I found, I am grinding on the King of Plague. Because a winding trail can lose you all your gold or get you in a fight. That's all it can do. Now, the best strategy is, the first thing you do, the first shop you get to, buy all the food you can, and sell your original shield. And the reason is, Mr. Lionel, if you ask him what you need, or what he needs, will always give you a shield if you don't have one. And if the only shield in your deck is the Skeleton King shield, you'll get it. If you go to Trading Post, for 12 food, you can get a random shield or a random helmet as options. And if all you have are the Skeleton King shield and helmets in your deck, then that's what you'll get. And if the only weapon you have is the Skeleton King sword, then the Twisted Canyon, where you climb down to get a weapon, will always give you the Skeleton King sword. So all you gotta do is get a layout large enough to hit all of those before you hit Warlord 3. Sounds simple? Yeah, it's not. It's super not simple. I got the Skeleton King items at least 4 times altogether and couldn't find this or hit the final boss of the level before I found it.
Awaits you.
Help the locals.
Have a way of focusing the mind.
Yeah, let's fight this. 'Cause why not? Why not fight it? Brar, I'm gonna kill you all! No, get away from me, you monsters! Alright, so that was expected.
You will need to do better. It is your end. The pieces return to their places.
Alright, for delivering the Skeleton King's items, you receive the Skeleton King ring and the blacksmith. So, yet another encounter card. Just randomly thrown in here. So, when we come back, yet another encounter card just randomly thrown in here. Bye, everybody.